Hello everyone, myself Vinay Kumar. I am actually pursuing PhD in physics. So in this particular YouTube channel, I will be teaching physics, chemistry and mathematics starting from 8th standard till 12th standard. So if you want to learn physics, chemistry and mathematics, then please do subscribe to my channel. So in my last videos, I was actually explaining the 11th chapter of 8th standard science subject. So in this particular video, I will be explaining the 12th chapter of same 8th standard science subject, that is some natural phenomena. So in this particular video, you will be learning about lightning, you will be learning about earthquakes and various other natural phenomena which take place around us. So to understand a natural phenomena lightning, you have to actually have an idea about electric charges. To get an idea about electric charges, you can actually take a plastic comb. You can actually comb your hairs with this particular plastic comb, and you can place some small paper pieces on the floor. So after rubbing thoroughly on your scalp with a plastic comb, you can bring this plastic comb near this particular paper pieces. So now you can observe that this particular plastic comb will actually attract some of the paper pieces towards it, and some paper pieces will get stuck to this particular comb. So this shows some kind of force is actually pulling the paper pieces from this surface towards this comb. That is actually electrostatic force. So the comb which you actually rub on your scalp will get some amount of charge on it. So a charged body attracts uncharged body. So here I am writing charged body actually attracts uncharged body. So here paper piece is actually uncharged, and comb which you have actually used for combing your hair, you actually rubbed that comb on your hairs and that particular comb has become charged. So that electric charges which has got deposited on that comb, or the comb which has actually got charged by electric charges, will actually attract the uncharged paper pieces. So always you should remember that charged body attracts uncharged body. So you might have observed lightning which takes place in this particular environment. So whenever two charged clouds come very much close to each other, they don't touch each other, but they come so close, these two particular charged clouds, that actually produces a greater amount of electric discharge through lightning. So you might have been observed that when the connection which you make inside an electrical socket, let's say you have some electrical appliances which you have to connect inside a socket so that that particular electrical appliance you can actually run. If the connection which you do inside the socket, if you are not doing it properly, sometimes you might hear some small sound, crackling sound, some light inside it. So whenever there is a loose contact between the plug and the socket, then there will be a kind of electric discharge actually taking place. That's why you will see a spark and a small amount of sound. Similarly, when large bodies like clouds, when they are charged and when they come closer to each other, at that particular time, lot of electric discharge takes place through lightning, and that electric charges will be reached to the earth's surface, and this earth will actually absorb that electric charges. So in this process you will actually hear the sound as well. So that sound we call it as thunder, and the light which you see, the electric discharge which is happening which you see, is actually lightning. So many times in your house you might have observed that when the connection is not proper inside a socket, when a plug is not connected properly inside a socket, you will see some small electrical spark, some small lightning and small sound which is coming out. So these are very small objects, hence it produces that much amount of electrical discharge. But when there is a large clouder, so according to the size of the cloud, the lightning effect and the thunder effect will be absorbed. So when the clouds are heavily charged, only at that particular time it will produce a larger lightning with a large thunder sound. So before understanding about lightning even more, we will actually look upon charges more. Now let us do another experiment. So you can take a balloon and you can actually inflate that balloon. So you can actually take two balloons and you can actually inflate those two balloons, and you can hang these balloons close to each other to a ceiling. Now bring a woolen cloth and rub this one particular balloon with that woolen cloth. So after rubbing this particular balloon with a woolen cloth, you can observe that these both balloons will get attracted to each other. That is because even when you rub this balloon with a woolen cloth, this particular balloon will actually get some amount of charge on it. So when this particular balloon gets charged, it will actually attract this uncharged balloon. So that's why you can see there is an attraction between these two balloons. Now if you continue this experiment and if you actually rub both these balloons with woolen cloth, for example, let's say if you also rub this second balloon also with woolen cloth and this first balloon also with woolen cloth, then you can see there will be a kind of repulsion which is happening between these two balloons. This actually shows the charge which has got accumulated on this particular balloon and the charge which has got accumulated on this particular balloon are one and the same. Hence, they are known as like charges. So always you should remember, like charges will repel each other. You actually used woolen cloth to rub these two balloons. So these two balloons have accumulated same charges. So that's why these charges are known as like charges, because both the charges are same. So always like charges repel. So in the first step of this experiment, you actually saw there was an attraction between these two balloons because one particular balloon was uncharged and other particular balloon was charged. So that's why there was an attraction. That means charged balloon was attracting uncharged balloon. But now the charge on each balloon is one and the same, because now you have given charge to both of the balloon by rubbing both of the balloon by woolen cloth. So that's why now like charges have been got accumulated on these two balloons. Hence these two balloons are now repelling each other. So let us do another experiment. You can actually take a plastic refill of a pen and you can actually rub this particular refill, plastic refill, with polythene cloth or a silk cloth. So when you rub this particular plastic refill with a polythene cloth or a silk cloth, then you can see that this particular refill also accumulates some amount of charge. You can actually see that some amount of charge is actually accumulated on this refill. You can actually take two refills and you can actually charge these two refills with this polythene cloth, and if you bring these two refills together in a glass cup, then you can see this particular refill will actually repel the other refill, because here also these two particular refills have been given charge by a polythene cloth. So that's why here also charges which has got accumulated on these two refills are like charges. Hence here also there will be repel. So here also refills will repel each other because both the refills have gained like charges on them. That means both the refill have same amount of charge because you have used polythene cloth charge both the refills. So coming to the third case, if you actually rub a balloon with a woolen cloth and a refill with a polythene cloth, then you can see there is some amount of charge which has got accumulated on this balloon, and there is also some amount of charge which has got accumulated on this particular refill. So now you can see if you bring this refill and balloon together, then these both will actually get attracted to each other. So balloon and refill will get attracted. Now you might have been wondering that when two bodies are charged, they must repel. But here these two bodies have opposite charges. These two bodies doesn't have same amount of charges because you have used polythene to charge this refill and you have used woolen cloth to charge this particular balloon. So here the charge which this balloon has got and the charge which this refill has got are different. So the balloon has actually received positive charge on it and this particular refill has received negative charge on it. So whenever you use polythene cloth to charge a refill, you will actually get negative charges, and whenever you use woolen cloth to actually charge this balloon, you will get positive charge on this particular balloon. So you can see here negative charge and positive charge are not similar charges, are not same charges, they are different charges. So opposite charges, or it is also known as unlike charges. So whenever there is unlike charges accumulated on two bodies, they actually attracts. So opposite charges or unlike charges actually attract each other. So in first case you have seen that like charges repel. Even in second case when you used polythene cloth, here also like charges got repelled, because here actually when you rubbed with woolen cloth, this balloon also got positive charge and this balloon also got positive charge, and this is also similar charges, hence they actually repelled each other. Here also when you rubbed this refills, two refills with polythene cloth, because you rubbed with polythene cloth, this refills got negative charge and this refill also got negative charge. Hence here also you can see there is similar charges on each refill. So that's why here also it became a like charged. That's why here also like charges actually repelled each other. But in third case, actually you have given positive charge to this particular balloon and you have given negative charge to this particular refill. So here actually charges are unlike. Here actually charges are not similar. They are opposite. They are unlike. They are different. Hence, different charges or unlike charges attract each other. So that's why positive charge attracts negative charge. Negative charge repels negative charge. Positive charge repels positive charge. Any kind of charge will attract an uncharged body. So whenever there is an uncharged body, it will easily get attracted to a charged body. But when there is charge on both the bodies, it depends whether both the bodies have same charge or not. So now you can actually make one more kind of experimental setup. You can actually take a glass jar and you can actually seal this glass jar with an aluminium foil. So on this particular aluminium foil, you can actually make a hole on this particular aluminium foil and you can actually insert an iron wire like this, and you can make a hook below this iron wire, and this particular iron wire will be made to stick on this particular aluminium foil. So now for the hook of this particular iron wire, you can actually place two metal strips like this. So you can observe here, I am actually placing our two metal strips over this hook of iron wire. So this iron wire is actually extended outwards through this hole which is made through this aluminium foil. Now you can actually rub a refill or a plastic straw with a polythene cloth. So after rubbing this plastic straw or plastic refill with a polythene cloth, this particular plastic straw or plastic refill has acquired some amount of charge. So you can bring this particular straw or a plastic refill which has got charges on it, you can bring that near this iron wire and you can actually touch the outside part of this iron wire. So now you can see, after touching this charged refill on this outside part of iron, this particular metal strips which were actually hanged to the hook of this iron wire which is made inside glass jar will actually repel each other and they will actually deflect in the opposite direction like this. So there is a repulsion between these two metal strips. How did these metal strips got charged to get repelled? So this might be a question. So here you all know that iron is a good conductor of electricity. It is actually a good conductor of electric charges. Hence the charges which was accumulated on this particular plastic straw or plastic refill actually got transferred through this iron wire, and those charges actually got accumulated on this particular metal strips which was attached to this iron wire. That means there is no direct contact of this particular plastic straw with this metal strips, but still charges actually got transferred through this iron wire and it actually reached this metal strips, and hence the charge which was there on this particular plastic straw or this particular plastic refill got transferred through this iron wire, and hence charges were accumulated on this particular metal strips. So since this particular plastic refill contains only one kind of charges, so the charges which got accumulated on this particular metal strip and this particular metal strips are similar, because there is no other charge which is there on this particular plastic straw. This plastic straw has only one kind of charge because you have just rubbed that plastic straw with a polythene cloth. So that's why that plastic straw has got only one kind of charge, and that particular charge, the same charges has got accumulated on both the metal strips through that iron wire. So here both the metal strips got similar charges. So like charges always repel. Hence this particular metal strips will actually repel each other. So this shows again like charges will repel each other. So using this particular principle, they have actually constructed a device called electroscope. So this electroscope is a device which is actually used to verify whether an object is charged or not. So to know an object is charged or not, they will actually use this particular principle, because let's say this is the object which we have to check whether it is charged or not, and this is other object through which we are actually supplying some amount of charges. Already if this particular object has some charge, then this particular object will either get attract to this or it will actually not get attract to this, because this particular object is uncharged. So if you want to test whether this particular object is positively charged or negatively charged, then you will bring a negatively charged object towards it, so that if this particular object repels each other, this particular object repels the negatively charged object, then that shows this particular object is negatively charged. Similarly for positively charged also, they will bring some positively charged material towards it, so that if that repulsion happens, then that shows that particular object is positively charged. If attraction is happening, then that shows that particular object has negatively charged. So to determine any kind of electrical charges on a particular object, and to determine whether an object is charged or not, for that they use this particular device, and the name of that particular device is known as electroscope. And that electroscope actually works on the principle of like charges getting repelled and unlike charges getting attract. So to understand the working of electroscope, you can actually make this small experiment at your home or in your school. So now in this particular experiment, when you actually transfer charge from this plastic straw to this metal strips, so this metal strips will acquire same kind of charges, hence they will get repelled each other. But now if you go and touch this particular metal strips, then again this metal strips will actually come to normal position like this. Why? Because this metal strips has lost their charges because of your touching. That is because human body being a good conductor of electricity, when you go and actually touch this metal strips, the charges which was accumulated on this particular metal strip actually got transferred through your body, and those charges has actually entered the earth's surface. So when you go and touch that particular metal strips, charges which was got accumulated on that particular metal strips actually got discharged through your body to earth. So this process of charges getting discharged from a body and reaching earth is known as earthing. So here actually charges which was there on this particular metal strips has got discharged through your body. So if you are actually giving some charge to a body, then it is known as charging. So when a body accumulates charges on it, the process of getting those charges accumulated on that particular body will be known as charging, and the charges which has got accumulated on that body will actually get discharged from that body, and that process is known as discharging. That means earth is actually receiving the excess amount of electric charges. So this process of discharging electric charge from a body to earth is actually known as earthing. Charges from one particular body is getting discharged to the earth's surface. So that particular process is known as earthing. So you might have been seen on so many buildings, there will be a large metal strip will be standing on that particular building. Why? Because whenever some lightning happens, lightning is actually discharge of electric charges. Whenever there is lightning happening around this particular building, and the charges which has got attracted by this iron rod or iron stand on a building will actually get discharged through this iron rod to earth, because this iron rod will actually be connected to the earth's surface. So there will be some kind of conductor which is actually connected to this particular iron stand, and whenever the charges from this lightning hits this particular building or hits any of the surrounding of this particular building will be attracted by this particular iron rod, and this iron rod will easily discharge the charges which is present in this particular lightning to earth. So this actually prevents lightning to happen on any other surface of earth. So this actually avoids the risk of lightning. So this is also one particular example of discharging electric charges which was actually present in that particular lightning. So now we can actually dive deep into the understanding of lightning. So whenever there is a thunderstorm taking place, at that particular time, air currents will actually move upwards and water droplets inside the clouds will move downwards. That means air current is moving upwards and water droplets are actually moving downwards. So this vigorous movement of air current and water droplets moving up and down will actually create separation of charges inside the clouds. So basically the positive and negative charges which is already there in that particular clouds will actually get separated. So because of this vigorous movement of air current and the water droplets which is moving downwards will actually create separation of positive and negative charges. So all positive charges which are there in this particular cloud will accumulate on the surface, upper surface of the cloud, and negative charges which was there on this in this particular cloud will accumulate in the down part of this particular cloud. So here clearly there will be a separation of electric charges. So now you can actually imagine that upper part of cloud will be positively charged and the lower part of cloud will be negatively charged. This happens because of strong interaction of air currents and strong interaction of water droplets moving downwards. So this actually produces separation of charges inside the cloud. Now the upper surface or the lower surface of one particular cloud, when it comes to the contact of lower surface or the upper surface of another cloud. For example, let's say this particular cloud has actually got negative charge at its bottom and another cloud has got positive charge at its upper surface. So when this positive charge and negative charge come together, come closer, so the upper part of one particular cloud and the lower part of another particular cloud, when they come together, there is a strong interaction between this positive and negative charges. So this particular clouds which are very much heavy, when they come close to each other, so close that these particular electric charges will interact and it will produce a larger electric discharge towards Earth's surface, and that larger electric discharge of these particular charges which has got accumulated on this particular clouds, that electric discharge is actually observed as lightning, and the sound which is produced at that particular lightning is known as thunder. So this is actually physics behind how lightning and thunder happen when there is a huge thunderstorm. Because of air currents and water droplets moving in opposite direction create charge separation inside clouds, and when there is heavy charges got accumulated in these two particular clouds, when they come close to each other, there will be a lot of electric discharge happening because of that close contact of two particular heavily charged clouds. So still the process of lightning is not completely understood till today. This is just a brief idea about how lightning happens, but actual research still needs to be done on how lightning happens. So whenever there is lightning happening in your locality, then what are all the tips you should actually follow to avoid getting that lightnings to you? Because lightnings means there is huge amount of electric discharge happening, and human body being a good conductor of electricity, human body can easily attract those lightnings. Hence, whenever there is lightning happening outside, you should never move out of your house or out of a building where you are actually staying, because you should protect yourself from those particular lightnings. So whenever you are inside a building, then remember that you should stay in the center part of that particular building. Avoid standing near windows, avoid standing near doors, avoid standing near the walls of that particular building. You should actually stay inside the house. in the center part of the house, and you should avoid touching metal objects inside house. Like you should avoid touching taps, you should avoid touching any other metal object which is there in that particular building. So these are the precautions which you should actually take when you are inside a building when lightning is happening. Unfortunately, if you are outside the building, then please always find open field and move to that place. Don't stand under any trees. Don't stand near any kind of metal objects which are there in your surroundings. Move towards a open field. Cover your head with your hands, and actually you should sit down on the ground. So while sitting down the ground, you should actually cover your head. Your head part should not face upwards, because your head will be a good conductor for electricity and lightning might hit your head. So that's why you should actually cover your head, and you should actually sit down, because if you are actually standing straight, then that will also attract lightning. So that's why you should actually sit down, and you should actually cover your head with your hands. And for example, if you are actually staying inside a vehicle, or if you are actually staying inside a closed vehicle like car or bus or wherever, so in whichever closed vehicle if you are staying, then you should actually close all the windows of that particular vehicle, and you should sit inside the vehicle. Because when you sit inside the vehicle, if lightning strikes on that particular vehicle, the charges will transfer through the outer surface of that vehicle, and it will get discharged to the earth surface. You will not get any kind of electric shock, because you are actually sitting inside the vehicle. You have actually closed all the windows of that particular vehicle, because electric charge inside a closed body will always be zero. Electric charges will flow through the outer surface of that particular vehicle, and it will get discharged to earth surface. Hence, you will not get any shock when you sit inside a vehicle. In this chapter, now we have understood one particular natural phenomena, that is lightning. So moving to the next natural phenomena, that is earthquake. Outermost layer of this particular earth is not in one particular piece. There is actually multiple pieces which has actually joined together on this particular earth's surface to form this particular earth's surface. So these kind of pieces through which this the earth's surface has actually formed is known as earth plates. So there is an intersection between each earth plate. So these earth plates will be in constant motion. When these particular earth plates are in constant motion, they actually sometimes collide each other, or sometimes they brush each other. When they brush or collide each other, there will be an earthquake which is happening on the surface of the earth. So now you should think that the surface of earth is not a single piece. This particular surface of earth has multiple pieces attached together. So these multiple pieces are known as earth plates, and hence the earth plates, whenever they collide each other, whenever they brush each other, there will be a kind of earthquake taking place. So there is lot of earthquakes which is happening every now and then on this particular earth, but most of the earthquakes are so minor that even we cannot notice such kind of earthquakes. Only when a particular earthquake is large enough, then only we can actually notice that particular earthquakes, and these earthquakes actually cause lot of destruction. So wherever this intersection of two plates is happening is actually known as fault zones, because at this particular places there will be more chances of earthquake happening. Because if you consider this as one particular earth plate and this as another particular earth plate, or simply in simple words you can understand one piece of earth and other piece of earth is actually colliding each other. So the place at which they are colliding, they are actually intersecting, that place will be a very weaker zone where more earthquakes will be frequently happening at that particular position, because there is a connection between two particular earth plates. That's why those particular zones are very weak zones which are more prone to earthquakes. So that's why that particular zones are known as fault zones, and it is also known as seismic zones, SCISMIC. So seismic zones or fault zones. So these particular zones are the intersection of two particular earth plates, where in this particular zones, in this particular place, most frequently earthquakes will be happening. These earthquakes will sometimes actually generate tsunamis as well, because whenever there is earthquake happened inside ocean, So at that particular time, it will actually generate a larger waves in that particular ocean. Hence, that will affect the land surface in the form of tsunami. So this is how earthquakes actually take place on this particular earth surface. Whenever there is a disturbance in outer surface of earth, the outer surface of this particular earth is actually known as crust. Whenever there is a certain amount of disturbances happening in this earth's crust, earthquakes will take place. So these kind of disturbances will actually create tremors. Tremors are generally known as light earthquakes. So this particular tremors will actually generate a certain kind of waves, and these particular waves are actually absorbed by seismograph, which is actually placed on the surface of earth. So this seismograph actually absorbs the waves which is actually generated by small tremors which is happening in the crust of earth surface, and this shows the possibility of earthquake in future. So even after advancement of technology, still we are unable to predict earthquakes. So in this particular seismograph, a pendulum or a vibrating rod will be hanged, and whenever this pendulum or vibrating rod is actually vibrated due to the waves produced by this tremors, this particular vibrating rod or pendulum is actually attached with a pen. And whenever there is waves generated because of this tremors which is happening in the earth's crust, this particular pendulum or this particular vibrating rod will vibrate based on the intensity of this particular waves. At that particular time, the pen which is attached on this particular pendulum or the vibrating rod will actually record the intensity of that particular vibrations. So that actually shows and how intense that particular tremors are there. So what are all the precautions you should take for these earthquakes? So if you are actually staying inside a home, then you should go and get shelter under a table. Or if you are actually sleeping on bed, then you should actually cover your neck and head part and most of the sensitive parts of body with a pillow. And moreover, you should actually avoid constructing buildings and houses on the seismic zones or fault zones, because those particular zones will be more prone for earthquakes. So if you are actually staying outdoors, then you should find with an open field so that there is no chances of any objects falling on your head. So you should find such a place and you should actually go to that place, and on that place you should actually lie down on the ground and you should actually cover your head and neck part. So this is how you should actually take precautions when you are outdoors and when you are inside home. So in this particular video, you have actually learnt about charges, you have actually learnt about lightning, and you have also learnt about earthquakes. So this is all there in this particular video. Like this, I will be uploading more and more videos related to physics, chemistry and mathematics. In my next video, I will be explaining the exercise questions which is there in this particular chapter. So please watch this video and that video as well. And if you want to see more videos related to physics, chemistry and mathematics, then please do subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned with my channel. Thank you.